When was the last time India qualified in the under 50, under 16, under 19, under 23 in AFC? So if our kids don't qualify, how do you expect them to become adults and immediately get into the top 8? So senior state leagues, how many are there actually in existence out of the 30 states or 1.4 billion people?
2 months ago, I had a trials in Ranchi. There were 800 people who thronged the stadium. Like there is nothing going on over there. Why are these players playing?
Kids in India, 90% of them are not playing for the fun of playing sports. Kids in India play for getting out of poverty or getting out of where they are and living, actually having it as a career.
2047, the model. Hey, I hate to say it, that's bullshit. That's just covering your ass.
Every year, we are the ones producing players, but we are the ones who are suffering the most because nobody even asks us what we need.
Last 10 years, give me a name, one name from army team, railways team, who has been called for national camp.
There are people who are making more money playing in the ISL than they are making over here playing in the second and third league.
What has Hero ISL given back to Indian football in last 10 years?
Some Maruti on the Formula 1 field.
Then why is Reliance or FSDL not doing this? Like doesn't it sound like a gundagardi?
It is. AIFF as FSDL Reliance servant. They wanted India to be a global power in world football and our ranking to improve. Has that happened in the last 10, 12 years? No. Has it become worse? Yes. Have countries which are in war right now and have had no development become better than us? Yes. Will Indian football be big in 20 years? I can bet my life it will. Who will be earning the money then? FSDL Reliance. Will the clubs get any money? No. So out of the original 11, 12 clubs who started in ISL, 5 have shut down. No matter what happens, club shuts down or not, they will get their 18 crores a year as franchise fees per club. If they pump in 100 crores on our youth development, in 10 years, the ISL will be in the top 20 leagues of the world.
Starting with Yash Arora, he's popularly known for his thoughts and reviews on internet about matches, not only about Indian football, but also about European football. His actual stage name is YJ Reviews. Next, we have Jeremy Fishbein, who is former director of football.
Can you tell us who you're talking about? Can they kind of raise? I don't know who you were just describing.
Yeah. He was talking about me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next we have Jeremy Fishbein, former director of football in Academy, FC Madras. We have Nabab Bhattacharya, director of United Sports Club, Kalyani, West Bengal. We have Ranjit Bajaj, director of Minerva Punjab Football Club and owner of Delhi Football Club. We have Sarthak Bose, former player of East Bengal FC, and he's also a content creator. Next, we have Elvis Gose, who is the owner and president of ACC IFAPT International Football Academy. We have Hitesh Joshi, who is the founder of India Khelo Football. And we have Hans Gupta as the co-host and myself as the host.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Hans and I'm also a content creator on Instagram. So the question stands for the today's conversation is what's missing in 1.4 billion population of India? And starting with the just a recent happening of Asia Cup 2023. So I would like to ask everyone, I want everyone to share their views, the glimpse, and what are your views on what was really missing in the Indian national team?
If yes, you could start with it.
Yeah. I think the question of missing, again, the most important thing when we talk about Indian football is the context, right? The context about the Asian Cup, the preparation we had, right? The friendlies we had, the camp, the players' injuries, everything. Keeping that aside, obviously, because everybody is aware about that, the context, and how big Asian Cup is for us. It's like a World Cup for us, obviously. The facilities we experienced, we never experience a lot, right? There's very special for us. And I think for me, what I wanted to see mostly is because it's been 4.5 years for our coach, right? I know we have certain conditions, the problems, the injuries, everything, understandable. But for me, what I knew I'll see is the fight. Obviously, Indian football always fights. The players always give their all. I know that. But the thing I wanted to see, because it's the AFC Asian Cup, from the team itself, which I know is a very selfish or foolish outlook to it, obviously. But since the coach had 4.5 years with the national team, and he knows the ins and outs of what happens for a big tournament, right? The preparation we do, the in-game management and the management of the whole tournament. Obviously, football is a game of tiny details. Anything could have gone right or wrong, obviously, because we did some things very well. our approach was very brave compared to the last Asian Cup we played, obviously 2019. But with certain things and our in-game adaptability, some changes, you question whether the approach for this tournament, is it really serious? Because obviously the coach told us that don't expect a lot, which is fair. But when you talk about Indian football fans who want to watch Indian football and are not aware about the context, right? For them, they expect results. And I know it's a very pity thing that we could not deliver results due to a lot of circumstances. So for me, it's very disappointing. I was aware that this could happen, obviously, but I think it also opens a lot of eyes regarding where football stands in India right now and what expectation people should have, right? And I think people should be acting more fast, because when you talk about the other Asian teams, they're moving at 10 times the more pace, right? So we can talk about the positives, what we're doing, the approach, the pressing, all that thing, obviously. But ultimately, football is a competitive game and we compete with Asian teams. We could not make it to the round 16, and that's the reality.
Okay. So Ranjit sir, if you could give your next take on. Yeah, Jeremy sir, I think you were.
No, all I was gonna say is, and just kind of looking at this group on this call, I mean, I think we have to take advantage of the expertise, because we're just pundits if we're talking about senior team results. I mean, I think you hit on a couple key areas. The main one to me is, if you're not progressing on par with the rest of the world, you're falling behind. And that would be my fear if I was in Indian football, was that we're falling behind pretty rapidly. I mean, the results for me, looking at it from the United States, saying, you know, Australia, okay, so you lost to Australia, and then, you know, Uzbekistan and Syria. I mean, I pretty quickly moved on. Just, but it's not a surprise from what I've witnessed as a foreigner who was in India and then just watching. I don't think, as a group of football professionals talking about it, you got to go backwards, starting with youth, and have a plan, because, you know, I mean, it's somewhat embarrassing, those results. I mean, I don't know what else to say. And then looking at, you know, win over Kuwait, the loss to Qatar, and then, you know, you have to beat Afghanistan. But, you know, I got some insight in that. I worked with Venkatesh Shamagan for quite a bit, and he was the assistant coach, you know, for a long time. So I got some insight into the national team. But you know, for me, is Stimac a good coach? I mean, regardless, you need a coach that's really invested in India, who spends time in India, who values the culture, and then there has to be a commitment. But I guess just for me on this call, you know, I'm not here to be a pundit and evaluate a senior national team. I'm here to say, hey, how can this group of intelligent football people start being part of the change moving forward? I mean, that's just my take. I don't have much insight on player selection or what the fans expect. I mean, I know that's social media, that's what people want to hear, but this is a pretty powerful group, and you put together a really incredible opportunity to share some ideas, and they need to be progressive ideas. So I'll leave it to you all. I'll listen.
Yeah, Ranjit sir, if you could give your take on this as well.
Yes, that was very nice. Thank you first for having me, and to all the guests. And like Jeremy was saying, it's a very, very distinguished panel, and everyone here has done something for Indian football. And that's the great thing being here, especially with people like Nabab who's there, who I really admire and respect, who probably is the only other person who's focusing on the right things. Now, when there's a thing again and again, we keep on saying, and even the foreigners are amazed, 1.4 billion people can't play football, 1.4 billion, you can't find 11. See, we don't have 1.4 billion. So how many do we have? We actually have 0. Why? Because out of the kids who are playing today in the Indian senior national team, how many of them started at 6? or 7 or 8 or 9? Probably none of them. So they have not actually reached the potential they could have if they would have started at that time, if they would have got proper technical training. In fact, unless and until we have, I heard that day, Gurmangi saying, a great player for India, saying that he started football at the age of 14, 15. Imagine if Gurmangi had started at the age of 7 or 6, where he could have been. And people have to understand, when you say 1.4 billion, it means that how can you not select a team? Are there state leagues happening in all the states of India? So, see, you can only select people from where they play football. I can't go to a bunch of hockey players and say, okay, I want to select a football team, or cricket players and say the same. You have to have some kind of standard. So at least where do we look for? The senior teams. So senior state leagues, how many are there exactly in existence out of the 30 states or 1.4 billion people? How many states population makes up the senior state leagues? 7 states. Total population, probably 25 crores or 250 million. That's about it. And out of the 250 million people where the senior states league happens, I mean professional leagues, like Delhi League, like Calcutta League, like earlier they used to be the Chennai League, but now Tamil Nadu League now is not there. But we have the Goa Professional League. You know, all the professional state leagues you have where clubs are taking part. Out of those states, how many of them have a grassroots development program? So are these footballers just coming and playing because they are just playing football for fun, or they actually mean it as a career? Because the ones who started at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9 will take it as a career and be, sometimes you're just good in 5 different sports. And there are boys, like we had people in India like Junida who could play great cricket and football, and PK Banerjee and all those people, and Leander Paes who could play tennis and cricket. So we need to actually stop all this. Again, we are looking for immediate results, temporary measures like OCIs and giving citizenships. I saw a list of all the nations who were without players who were born in that country. And you keep on comparing to Malaysia or Indonesia or Qatar. How about comparing it to Iran or South Korea? So Iran has 0 players who have been born outside Iran. South Korea has 0 players who've been born outside South Korea. And Saudi Arabia has 0 players who've been born outside Saudi Arabia. Which are the 3 countries or 4 countries, and Japan the same? 4 countries which qualify for the World Cup every single time. Japan, South Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Because they have a great youth development system. No matter what you do, this generation is wiped out, the next generation will produce. We are still looking for the next Sunil Chhetri. By doing what? By investing money in the Indian Super League. We can't make a Sunil Chhetri, doesn't matter how much money you invest in. What we need to do is invest in our grassroots. Even if we invest now, we need to wait for 10 years. And in 10 years, you will show results. Who's done that? Vietnam has done that. You can see their performances. All the other countries like Qatar, who's taken it very seriously. They say, no, Qatar's people are outside. No, they bring in boys at the age of 7, 8, 9 from African countries. Yes, along with their parents. But those boys are there 7, 8, 9. And that's when they start training. And unless we change that culture where youth is given prominence, that means prominence by who? By the fans, by the coaches in the clubs. For example, none of the ISL teams take the junior league seriously. Even though they get 2 crores a year from FSDL to spend just on their junior teams, and if Nabab had 2 crore rupees, or I had 2 crores to spend on my junior teams, trust me, we would produce 20 times the number of internationals we already do, because we have some support. But the ones, so see, it's very basic knowledge. They have ISL has better coaches than us. They have better facilities than us. They have more money than us. They can produce better players than us if they want to. We need all clubs and academies in India to focus on it, just not 2, 3. And that's never going to happen. We have to have a huge pool. So we're focusing again on the wrong things by looking and trying to change the coach. You bring in Pep Guardiola, you think you win the Asian Cup? No, you won't, man. Okay.
Yeah, so like continue.
Let me say one thing about investing in the academies. If you look globally, youth football, there's not a return on investment. The reason a lot of these countries have great youth football is because it's mandated by the federation. And I don't know if you kind of followed what happened with Germany. Germany had their golden years and then they really fell off. And what happened is then the federation brought in a company, Double Pass. They evaluated all the academies. They said you're going to be penalized points if you're not investing in your youth academies. And then there was a resurgence. The United States is a really interesting model, I think, for you as Indians, because geographically, how big we are, the diversity of the population. Then the league, MLS, has done incredibly well. And it was mandated by the federation and by the league that there's a significant investment in youth development across the league. And like you said, the ISL teams have the greatest opportunity to develop youth players. But until it's mandated that every ISL team has, you may start it at 15, 15, 16, 17, 19 in a youth team, unless that's in the bylaws of the league, people aren't going to spend money because there's not a return.
Exactly. So for example, Jeremy, they have this rule in Indian football, which doesn't make sense, that you have to have a youth player under 21. This was till last year. You have to have an under 21 player starting the match. So it only matters if the under 21 player has been developed by you. It should be that you have to have at least 2 under 21 players developed by your own academy into the team. Right. Then it makes sense for that club to be forced to invest, because otherwise 20% of your team is crap. And then you will be forced to spend on that money. The same way, even if you don't get, for example, Manchester United, you have had the best coaches in the world, but they've never had a team for 40 years without a guy from their academy in the first 11. And I bet my life on it. You can't go and tell Alex Ferguson, we have a record to keep, and that is why you need to put one of the academy boys in the first 11. He's not going to take that crap. Only if the boys deserve to be there, they're there. Does Manchester United need money to buy best players? No, they don't. But they still do that. The same with Barcelona. They have the best academy in the world. You think they can't just go buy the best Messi? They can. But they want to produce their own players. And now, when Barcelona was in the biggest problems financially, which like India, they went back to their youth. And that youth has given them a new generation of brilliant players who are going to be the best in the world. That's what we need to do. And again, it's not rocket science. It's not that we are trying to tell them to reinvent the wheel. We are not. We're telling them to focus on the basics. And that's where it is. They're not focusing on the basics. They're trying to go 10 steps ahead of the basics. And no matter what you do there, it's never going to make a proper effect unless we go down to the basement and strengthen our foundation.
You're 100% right. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, fantastic feedback. Listen, the question we have been asked is, what's the performance of Indian national football team? And when this question has been asked, in my life, last 59 years. We cannot beating it's a dead horse. We cannot kill it anymore. We've been done with this. So let's get to the point. The bottom line is this. Bottom line is cannot blame the coach, cannot blame the players. So who do you blame? You have to blame the federation, which is in charge of that football. That means putting out a quality product, and we are not creating quality product. Let's give it a rest. We've been there, all of us, in many different cases, exception of Jeremy. Some of us who have played in India, the conditions we have played in India, still the Indian players who are playing over there, the kind of diet, the kind of nutrition, or the kind of conditions that they play is in itself an achievement. It is. Let's give that first thing. So let's give credit where it is due. I think the missing component over here is an infrastructure. When I'm talking about infrastructure, a master plan that includes a systematic organization Now, AIFF, if you read the constitution, they have already zoned. They have zoned like 5 zones. And they need to reorganize the constitution. Instead of having one general secretary, they need to have the delegates or the directors in those zones. And those zones needs to be financed or supported by Sports Authority of India. The money needs to come from there. And that funding, which they got 700 crores or whatever that agreement was signed for, that needs to be universally distributed for guys like Ranjit or Mr. Bhattacharya here. Because those academies that are running the show do not have the capital from upstairs coming down. So let me just give you a quick brief example. When you're talking about production of players, I am working, right in the thick of it. Associação Académica de Coimbra produces probably 1 or 2 players. Benfica produces probably 10 players. These are football factories. Now I would say, yes, I like the American model. I used to be a big proponent of it. And there are very unique parts of American model, like the youth football organization in terms of AYSO, UYSYSA, and so forth. Those are brilliant models. And they have a fantastic bylaws and structure that can be brought to the table. But going back to this academica or the academy model, which is producing talent, these football factories. Let me give you a simple example. We are selecting players at the age of 6 and 7. Our scouts are out there watching all the different games in different competitions. They're traveling. Benfica gets the first pick. Porto gets the second pick. Sporting gets the 3rd pick. Braga gets the 4th pick. Then Gil Vicente or Guimarães gets the 5th pick. And the tickle down, the breadcrumbs falls onto us. Now, those breadcrumbs sometimes we get 1 or 2 good ones. Why? Because parents do not want to move out of the regions. And these are all Portuguese-born players. Now, we go after those players, foreign countries, but we cannot afford them. Benfica goes after them. Benfica will have scouting in Senegal, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, everywhere else, like what Ranjit mentioned. They move their entire families over here. By laws and everything, they do it in such a way that they provide a job for the father or the mother. They got the financial ability. Why? Because they will make $100 million at the end of this year in player sales. Now, try to absorb that. AIFF was sold for 110 million. The entire organization with all its glory and everything else. So going back to this blame of putting on the coach or the players, no, let's stop it right there. We are not pundits, like we said. We are not going to discuss the team. Let's discuss the infrastructure. So that's just my take at this moment.
I guess I've been hearing from, and I've learned from Elvis sir and Ranjit sir over years since long. The good point from our end is I always look from the corporate background and we look at the macro structure. Now, when the question was put up, what is lacking for 1.4 billion? I think currently what goes on after every loss is we call it as a band-aid approach internally. अरे इधर लग गया यहाँ पे फटाफट बैंडेड लगा दो, यहाँ लग गया यहाँ पे चोट लगी यहाँ पे पट्टी लगा दो. There is never a full body checkup. And when you start comparing yourself with the other Asian teams who are doing well, I think there has to be an apple-to-apple comparison. When I say Apple, I'm literally saying Apple as a company. You can compare Apple with Samsung or Oppo or Vivo. But in our end, so that Apple has brought in some new feature, then even Samsung or Oppo has to bring it. In our case, we have to go back to the manufacturing facility per se, right from the beams and the shade of it. Now, what happens is in my assessment, which is a very limited for last 3 years, running India Khelo football, is see, as a sport, whenever it has to develop, there are only 2 things currently globally which has been proven. There has to be a demand for it, and the development has to be sustainable. Now, there is absolutely no question in anybody's mind that there is no demand. Even Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we saw so many players turn up to play for football. And when people say कि demand है क्या, I say you come with us for 6 months and I'll show you how many players play for without expecting anything. So there is demand. Everybody knows here there is demand. Now the problem over here is the development which is happening for Indian football is not sustainable in nature, right from the model per se. Now, when I say why it is not sustainable, because you measure portions in the or major stakeholders in the value chain out of your development process itself. Now, when, as Ranjit sir rightly pointed out, 7 ही स्टेट है, कि बीच में का पूरा हिंदी बेल्ट ही गायब है. अभी झारखंड, ओडिशा, छत्तीसगढ़ में कोई if any player is playing, he's a 11-year-old, 12-year-old guy,
Uttar Pradesh,
and he
like
wants
Uttar
to
Pradesh.
showcase himself.
Uttar Pradesh. It's
Like
a
Uttar
population.
Pradesh. Oh my
Uttar Pradesh. So population of Uttar Pradesh is more than the population of US, man. So
Exactly.
So
and we see, I'm not speaking just out of thin air. Last 2 months ago, I had a trials in Ranchi. There were 800 people who thronged the stadium. Like there is nothing going on over there. Why are these players playing? मतलब, a sane mind would say, जब exam ही नहीं हो रहा है, there is no syllabus in place. Why are the players? Why are the students studying? What are they studying for? So the demand is there. The problem is in the whole development model, it is not sustainable and left out major portions of stakeholders out of that development process. So it is never 1.4 billion. So I think, long story cut short, the whole development model is something which needs to be discussed over here. Considering we have Elvis sir, we have Jeremy, we have Ranjit, we have few ex-players, Nabab sir, and that is where we would be able to come up with some actionable input from our end, which will be of some value to the whole discussion and ecosystem as a whole.
Exactly.
See, before you actually go on to the next one, I just want to say one thing, that we are waiting for the first Mohamed Salah. Okay, that's what's going to happen. It's going to change it. I'm telling you that we Indians love world beaters or world champions or anything where we can do well and we can compete with the world's best. The moment an Indian is able to produce it, you'll see the generation change happen, and the government change, the corporates change, the sponsors coming in, everything will change. One man has changed it for Egypt. One man has changed it for South Korea. 2 men actually. Park Ji-sung before that for Man U, and then Tottenham, the new guy. So we need, imagine when that happens. So how is that going to happen? So I was looking at a tweet by somebody. He was saying how many players of these teams are playing in their own leagues. So how many players from Japan, and the Japanese league is world class, man. South Korean league is world class. Saudi Arabian league is world class. So how many players are actually playing in their own leagues? Now Saudi Arabia has got 8-9 players. Other than that, before this Saudi Arabian influx came in, they had 0 Saudi Arabians playing in Saudi Arabian league. The same for Japan, the same for South Korea, even Iran, with all the sanctions they have on them, they're playing all over Germany and all over the place. They're not even Afghanistan by the way. So unless we have 7-8 Indians playing in the Champions League, we're never going to get to the World Cup. How do we get there? That's the point. The point is, how do we get Indians to the top clubs in the world? Not how do we get great Indians like Sunil Chhetri produced out of the ISL. That's not going to work. What's going to work is our boys, and that's why I really look up to my women, because the Indian women's team already has 3 women who are playing in the European Champions League. And bloody hell, they're scoring every week. They're scoring for fun in the Champions League. That is why you can see a corresponding ranking of the women to the men. And we have a chance with the women. And like Elvis said, sometimes you have to give credit where it's due. In spite and despite of not even being that much support that is there for the men, our women have done so well. So what are we doing? Are we trying to support them a little bit more? No, we're not even supporting them. They have a realistic chance of getting into the World Cup, man. When? Within the next 4 years. Because that's how far they are. Now, that is what I'm saying. We are looking at the wrong things, trying to make our leagues better, trying to get better coaches. We need to get better coaches at a very young age. That is where we need to produce good players. We Indian fans. So, what am I doing? I have taken a very big decision after this AFC competition. And probably this can be your promo. I believe out of the current Indian lot who's there, who's got the best chance to play at a top European club within 7, 8, 9 years? I can only name one name, Anwar Ali. And I would say that he has a chance to be the generational change. Because after this Mohan Bagan stint, if I refuse to send him to an Indian club and take that hit as a parent club because he's signed to me, and he also agrees to take the hit in his salary, he can make history. So we need players who are willing to go out of the comfort zone and in their prime go and play there, which Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, by the way, was doing. And he came back. If he had stayed on, he would have been Al-Habsi, because Al-Habsi from Oman did exactly the same thing, same club, went on for 5 years and went on to play in the English Premier League. Gurpreet Singh Sandhu put in the hard work, but right when he was in the Champions League, Europa Cup, he got a great offer from Bengaluru FC, and the money was too good to refuse, and he came back. So that is what we are looking at. The money being offered to players here is a big stifling factor for our clubs, players' development of actually going abroad.
I was just going to quickly say, Ranjit, let's hope for at least 1 instead of 7 internationals. I think if we could, like, sincerely, if this gentleman you're talking about could get in one of the top 5 European leagues, I think it will give us a new exposure, something to talk about to the content creators, in other words. Going back, listen, I mean, I like to proceed further with the questions that we have, and because I think we can. The point that you brought up was, and the initial discussion was, ISL being the sort of the cream of the crop, right? I mean, it's the English, I mean, it's our Premier League right now. And I think that responsibility to a certain extent can be put on the ISL clubs. 15 is too late, by the way, you know. I would say we need to start at least at 12, U12, like at least start at 11, because Ronaldo, whatever he was 11 years old when he came to Sporting. Messi was the same age, 12 years old. So that is the correct age. 15? Now
you need to be in the senior team by then.
Exactly. So, I mean, we have a kid right now, Guy, in our Academica. He's 16 years, he's 15 years old. He's training with the first team. Now, try figuring that out. We have Azric Charles, who's training with the first team, 18-year-old. We have Dani, who is 17 years old, training with the first team. And we have
Barcelona boy just scored at the age of 15 for Barcelona, for Spain. That boy made it.
The progression of a development of a player started at the age of 6 and 7, and in 10 years' time, when they're 16 and 17, exactly, they are already there. So that is the missing point, and that's what we need to focus on. So going back to the how do we focus on, I think the key is, like, guys who are in the thick of it, and you guys are there. I mean, we can only give certain kind of a support. It's more of an emotional or a connective support. So if you were to tell me, hey, I have this young player who is really solid, good enough that he could play, and I think through our connections, we could bring him in a professional league over here. Now, unfortunately, like you just said, there are people who are making more money playing in the ISL than they are making over here playing in the 2nd and 3rd league. For sure, they do not pay enough. Only the top tier pays a lot of money. So that becomes like, hey, wait a minute, I'm making already 5,000 a month or 6,000 or 10,000 a month. Why should I go and get a paycheck of 75% cut and make only 2,500, in other words? How is that possible? I'm not going to do that. Thank you. So
let me just make a broad statement here, because we're jumping around so much. I think, I mean, this could be 5 calls, 10 calls. I mean, this is a great opportunity to do some planning and say, how can you use this format? And I think it can start out, it could be like this, you know, on Zoom, but at some point you have to get people together. And just the things that jump out, I'm the only one here that doesn't have the same emotional ties. I mean, you guys are passionate and you've kind of invested your life into this. For me, India was incredible. And I can look at it as an outsider. I mean, what Elvis was just saying was talking about the vertical alignment with the club. And that's very important for player development, because there's there's things to gain playing within your age group and being the best player, and there's things to gain being a young player with senior players. You learn, you're humbled, you have to change your game. But that stuff, you know, that's a whole different issue in terms of development, in terms of methodology. To me, as an outsider, and I've coached all over the world. I've coached players from 25 countries. I've helped develop senior national players, 12 different countries, youth internationals. Indian players are good. Now, I can say with 100% certainty from the youth players I was able to work with and watch, you have a lot of players that can play, not necessarily in the top 5 leagues, maybe, you know, championship, maybe smaller countries, 100% players that can play in those leagues. I think it's hard for any of us to say, hey, we're going to have a Mo Salah. I mean, FC Madras, their catchphrase, hey, the next Messi from Madras. You know, those guys they're out there and you'll stumble across them. But to me, seeing players from India and you know, you talked about that it's not really 1.4 million, maybe it's 1.4 billion, maybe it's 250 million. You know, when we did scouting in Mizoram and Manipur, Kerala, Kolkata, you know, Goa was kind of a closed deal. You couldn't really get in there, but I spent a month in Goa and I saw the infrastructure in Goa. The players are in India. There's excellent players. Now, to create that unicorn, that special guy, that's where it's going to be difficult because you don't have the developmental structure, and there has to be partnerships with foreign clubs. There's no question, if you want to develop elite players, you have to have partnerships and exposure with elite international clubs. And there seems to be a very unwillingness in India to do that, because there are people with money, there are people with ownership stakes in foreign clubs. You can send players to other countries. Same thing, but maybe of even greater importance to me is sending coaches to really immerse themselves and see what goes on in these other countries. Because, you know, I was working with national team coaches in India who had never been outside India. They had no idea. I mean, it's easy for you guys to sit and say, well, this is what's happened in other countries. I mean, Elvis is living it in one of the most successful football countries right now in the world. But from my observations, you have the talent, you have the passion, you have coaches that want to be excellent, you have to have exposure, and at the same time, you need to have oversight, because unless there's organization and a collective goal, it's not going to work. It's just going to be a bunch of people sitting around complaining, giving all these solutions. I personally don't think it's that hard in India. I mean, sure, it costs money, but it's getting the top clubs together, creating great competition, education, trying to eliminate age fraud, and getting exposure. And those are all big processes, and it costs money, but there are people investing in India and football. And if you get the right people together and you start saying development versus winning at the young ages, I think it can go pretty quickly, because I think, and I don't know what now, but the AIFF had like the 2047, the model, which, oh, we're going to achieve this by 2047. Hey, I hate to say it, that's bullshit. That's just covering your ass. That gives you it gives you so much time to line your pockets, and then, oh, well, we gave it our best for 25 years and it didn't work. Like, to me, you can develop some really good players in 3 years. You can compete at the under 17, under 20 pretty quickly. The players are good. I won't let anybody in India off the hook that say you don't have the players. You have great players. World class, I don't know, but I've seen I've coached plenty of international players, and your guys are just as talented. And in some ways, you have an advantage because you still have players playing on the street, playing 6 hours a day. That's not happening in Western countries anymore. Like when I went down to Kerala and I saw these kids playing, or it's like Brazil. It's still, there's still a passionate group of players. And once you fine tune them, and that means coaching, that means competition, it means infrastructure, you work on diet, and there has to be an understanding of puberty, because when you look at Western guidelines for player development, it doesn't always apply to India because puberty is very different, and there's a lot of regional differences where I think some players are eliminated because of physical characteristics too early in India because they just haven't hit puberty. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be the biggest fan of Indian football and potential. I'm not here to complain. I'm here to say, hey, there's lots of solutions, and you guys are sitting on a gold mine. That's my belief. And look how passionate you guys are about the game. I mean, it's the world's greatest game, but you'll even appreciate it more once you spend more time outside of India. And it's an international language, just like cricket. Like I go here to the university right nearby, and on the weekends you see all these Indian graduate students playing cricket out there. So they bring it everywhere. Football is the same thing. If you know how to play football, you can step in any country in the world and you can have 21 friends pretty quickly, So however you want this format to work, or if you have questions for me or you have questions for Elvis, I think I would take advantage of that a little bit because I think we both really have like a global perspective. Elvis is a little more critical because he's Indian. So he's going to put down, I mean, I know he gets frustrated. We've spoken before. I'm fascinated by Indian football. I mean, I got very frustrated at times, but the potential and the passion is phenomenal.
All right. So as far I got the responses
think-
from everyone.
Yeah, just a second, Hans.
Yeah,
Just a second.
yes,
I think we are missing out Nabab sir. So Nabab sir, would you also like to share your views on this?
I'm not missing out because you have been everyone has been talking there. Everyone here, especially I will take Ranjit first. I think the best football official of this generation. He's younger than me, but he has got real passion for Indian football. Elvis, I have seen him we are in a group of Indian football, and I saw his comments for quite some months and years. He is very positive. I have seen him. Your question was, too many discussions has been done. Too many. Your question was, what was missing in this Asian Cup? This is your question.
Yes.
My question is, what did you find in this Asian Cup? What? I have been watching India team since playing with Argentina. I have seen India team playing with Yugoslavia. I have seen India team playing with Poland. I have seen India team playing with Russian team. I have seen Indian team playing with many European teams. I have seen Indian team playing with South Korea. I have seen, and not only playing means the difference one goal, 2 goals. Uruguay with Francisco, Argentina with Pompidou, Neri Pompidou, Buruchaga, and our own players were like Shishir Ghosh, Alok Mukherjee, Tonumai Bose. I have seen them play. I have seen India play. These days in Facebook, it comes, support your team, stay with your team, stand with your team. Okay, I'm standing with my team because it's my country. I have to stand up. Ranjit was correct. Only 7 or 8 state leagues with 25 crores of people. This one Ranjit mentioned. I'm saying Croatia with a population of 39 lakhs. I'm saying Mali with a population of 2.19 crores. I don't know whom to blame because it's a lot of blaming from my side already. So I want to stop that. I know India World Cup team 1983, the players who played for us, who bring the first Prudential Cup in the country, the first World Cup, they were getting around 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 rupees on those days. On those days, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986, India actually was nowhere in cricket. But fortunately, and cricket, you know, 7, 8 countries playing, but there was nothing equal to West Indies. Somehow we won the Prudential Cup, and then after the people who ran Indian cricket were not politicians. Politicians comes now when the annual revenue is 7,028 crores. Now it is the revenue, annual revenue of BCCI as per 2021-22, I believe, is 7,028 crores. And the budget of Indian football is 134, 135 crores. So the thing is that on that time, if you still want to see one 1983 Prudential Cup match or 1985 Benson and Hedges Cup, you want to see the matches, you can see. But go and look for the India team matches, Nehru Cup matches. I don't believe we won't get it in YouTube or social medias or recordings. I don't believe. And no one till they tried to save them. I believe that is with Durdarshan. It must be with Durdarshan. They are having those records, but no one care about this. We don't care about our past. Stand with your team. I'm standing with my team. What Ranjit has said, I agree with him. I agree with him. What Elvis has said. Actually, everybody here, what has been said, everything is correct. And this is I'm hearing for last 30 years. The same thing. This has to be done, this has to be done. There are a lot of players, there are plenty of opportunities, so many quality players. I have seen this, I have seen that. I'm hearing this for 30 years. 30 years, nothing has been done. 25 crores people, I'm saying in West Bengal. 12 crores people officially, unofficially it would be around 14, 15 crores by now. So 15 crore, and we can't produce 11 Indian players. We can't produce 30 Indian players. You can check it in Geo Cinema. East Bengal match is going on. It's 2-2, I believe, now. And you see how many people are watching the match. It's because East Bengal is there. The total Indian football, East Bengal, Mohamed Salah. Leave East Bengal, Mohamed from ISL. Where ISL stand? Where ISL stand? Tomorrow? Where ISL stand? 10 years. Last 10 years. Give me a name, one name from army team, railways team, who has been called for national camp. One single player. So you believe that there is no good player in army team. So you believe that there is no good player in railways team. We all know that. Paji.
Exactly. In fact, ISL has actually killed the next generation, Dada, because all our players used to come from Mahindra, used to come from Air India, used to come from Kerala Police, used to come from all this, and they've stopped all the jobs because of this. And you think the players are not there? I totally agree. Their players are there, but they don't look beyond those 60, 70 players in the ISL. The players in the second division and in the I-League and in state leagues, Santosh Trophy, are better than the ones who are playing in India, but they will not look at them. So what's the point of having a bigger talent pool? I'm saying forget 25 crores. Our talent pool is limited to those 60, 70 players who are playing in the ISL because they don't look beyond them. That's also another thing because,
Paji, I've seen this Santosh Trophy. The grounds that Santosh Trophy has been arranged, where Bengal has played. Santosh Trophy, one match, 1 day gap, one match. 2 day gap, one match. 2 day gap, one match.
Aapka coach Steve was saying the same thing. Forget that. The next generation, jo hamara under 17 league hai, we are playing matches every single day, not even 24 hours. And then we are between that time we are traveling So there's a match today, then there's a match tomorrow, there's a match day after tomorrow. So we are actually teaching them in classes that recovery, and here we are doing this for them.
And then after what we do, we spend all the money for the youth leagues. The whole money for the youth leagues is to be borne by the club. तो मेरे को यार आपको फुटबॉल खिलाना ही नहीं है, आपको क्वालिफाई करना ही नहीं है, वो ये डिस्कशन करके फायदा क्या?
You have to actually make it Dada, easier for the junior teams to actually participate and not make it के you अगर एक junior team चलाने के लिए हम जैसों को हर साल लोन लेना पड़ता है. We have to take loans out. And we don't get anything in return. It's a thankless job. So all we want is at least not to be penalized and made sure that so many things which can be taken care of by the federation where they should not. For example, we have hired a head of referees, Trevor Kettle, and his salary is 2.73 crores. They are paying 2.5 crores to somebody to come be the head of referees in India. What is that guy going to be able to do? Don't you think you should have invested that in the salaries of the referees instead? If you give them more salary, maybe they'll leave their jobs and they'll concentrate and study about it. You know, you making them pay 2,000 rupees a match and then you expect them to be world-class referees, but you rather give somebody from abroad 2.73 crores just to be head of referees. How is that going to help? Is he taking any education courses or anything? So we have to get out of this mindset and start helping our own. अब हम जब तक वो नहीं करेगा दादा, we don't help our junior kids. For example, I have been exactly what you are going through, I am going through. Every year, we are the ones producing players, but we are the ones who are suffering the most because nobody even asks us what we need. We are the main stakeholders. If we were not there, for example, I've got 31 boys of Minerva who are playing in the ISL right now. 31. That means if I was a rich man, I could have had 5 teams in the ISL because you have only 6 Indians playing in every team. So I could have had 6 different teams. Now, what does that mean? Unless and until you support academies and there's a proper structure and you have financial help, like Elvis said, from Sports Authority of India, going to these academies or from the AIFF, there is no chance because there's not even player compensation happening and there's no transfer fees happening. All the players are just taken away by the other clubs.
चलो एक बार transfer fees मिल भी जाएगा, Ranjit. How much do you want? How much you are spending?
Nothing. मतलब के we'll break even.
क्या मिल जाएगा?
No, but at least you and me are not in it for profit. You know that.
I'm telling you.
Football is the last thing for profit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm not here for profit. I'm telling you, मैं अभी second division खेल रहा हूँ. Last year there was travel subsidy. From this year, the travel subsidy is off.
Oh God, there is no travel subsidy in second division now.
No, इस साल से पूरा ही खत्म. So what do you do? In my team, there are 3 players from my academy at the age of 17 years. They are playing second division. तो second division तो मैं इसलिए खेलता हूँ कि मेरा बच्चा लोगों को थोड़ा सा अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म मिल जाए और कुछ नहीं. तो यहाँ से जो क्वालिफाई करेगा, अगर मैं क्वालिफाई करूंगा तो मेरा बच्चा लोगों को मिलेगा, दूसरा क्वालिफाई करेगा तो मेरा बच्चे को मांगेगा. यही तो बात है. I'm saying the 17, 15, 13 years league, the youth leagues, you train a kid for 365 days and you play a league for 4 weeks.
Exactly.
For what? For what? What does it mean? इसमें क्या development होगा?
Nothing. Because Japan is playing 60 matches, the youth.
आप जापान का भूल जाओ यार. I'm saying, yeah, you people are giving instances of Europe, instances of good countries, Japan, Vietnam. अरे यार जहाँ पे infrastructure है, everything is there. I'm talking about Mali. I'm talking about Cameroon. I'm talking about African countries. I'm talking about Ethiopia. उसका भी कैप्टन को देखो क्या सैलरी मिलता है उसको. उसका इंडिया वो अपना कंट्री में रहेगा तो $500 से सैलरी उसका नेशनल टीम का कैप्टन. It's not about money. आप बोलते हो मेरे को सब जगह लीग नहीं चाहिए तो 7 states only can vote. If the state does not have a league, he cannot vote in AIFF. करेगा कोई?
No, कोई नहीं करेगा.
So who will build the camp?
There'll be nothing. There'll be nobody building the. That is why the largest state in India, Uttar Pradesh, still does not have a league and they still vote every time. They get all the money and they don't bother.
Ranjit, one surprising thing. I've seen a under 17 player playing good and they beat Bengal in final, Uttar Pradesh. Their government still don't know that they have been the champion of under 17 junior national championship. वो मंदिर हो गया अभी पता चलेगा शायद तो अभी तो टाइम ही नहीं था इतना दिन से तो व्हाट एवर इट मींस मैं एक प्लेयर के पीछे भाग रहा था कि ये अच्छा प्लेयर है यार इसको ही कैन बी ए गुड प्लेयर जस्ट फॉरगॉट द नेम अरे यार मैं I sent my guy to UP. I was inquiring all of, and then I came to know he is not Indian. He came from Nepal. Played for Uttar Pradesh. They are the champion. Finish. तेरा घर घर है मेरा घर होटल है.
Guys, all right. Hey, next on to the next question. I think I got a micro level understanding of Indian football here. It's not that I'm not an alien to this. Bhaiya,
No,
from 19, sir, now from 1985 till 1995, I was part of Indian football. I traveled by the third class train. The bookings was never done. We slept on the
absolutely.
On the floor. We didn't
And
have
today,
water. We
and
went
today,
for over.
1 second, Elvis, exactly Nabab Da is telling you the truth.
यही मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
Same thing.
पूरा है. नहीं नहीं अभी facilities no Ranjit, the facilities are good these days. The grounds are good these days.
दादा nationals के लड़के जाते हैं तो junior nationals के जाते हैं. They're traveling in tiers unreserved category. I used to go for nationals when I played my nationals.
Yes.
I used to go there. There's no
Listen, I mean, listen,
you
I
don't
mean,
get good
Hans, give us the question. Let's put it this way. That is a really objective over here. In many ways, that if this content can be put together, then we can perhaps create a forum that we can go after the stakeholders and present this discussion to them in a meaningful, in a documentation. And I'm sure there are intelligent guys over here, younger guys especially. So let's move on to the next question and see how we can formulate this discussion.
All right. So somewhere like I got all the responses from all of you. You guys are the expert, and I got to know that yes, like there are a lot of things to improve in Indian football, the expenditure, the model of Indian football, and also the grassroots level, which is really missing. So talking about the grassroots level, we have a player already. Sarthak Bose is somewhere playing in CFL Premier Division. All right, so that's Calcutta Football League, I guess. Am I right, Sarthak? So
yeah, absolutely.
So he have like somewhere like when I talked to him, I got to know that he have faced some issues and also have faced some difficulties while playing or in the team or while with the being in the management. Also, he have faced many issues. So as a player, I would like Sarthak Bose to present his views that what he has faced on the grassroots level of Indian football. Basically, as Nabab sir also said that in Bengal there is like Bengal is known for football. Right, it is still known for football and will be known forever. It's kind of a legacy. So I want to know that what difficulties you have faced in at the grassroots level of your club and or the CFL. Is it Premier Divisions and also the lower leagues as you have played every league? So you would have known more better about this. So being a player, kindly tell us about what are your views.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm a bit nervous because all of you are really wonderful people, and all of you are much more experienced and knowledgeable person. So I'm not gonna talking about how we can improve and all. I'm just a football player. I'm presently playing CFL Premier League, and the ground is very important thing for all of us. And I'm totally agree with Nabab sir and Ranjit sir. Like you said, that our grassroots level for the practice we did. Most of the players get injured because of the ground only. That's the thing because we have a lot of division in here, like first division to fifth division, and also Premier Division. Nowadays we have a lot of good ground also, but the thing is, till now, 80% ground is not good. Like the second division, third division ground is not good. First division ground is not good where they are practicing, and most of the club doesn't even have any physios even. So everyone, most of the clubs does like this. So I'm facing this problem. We all football are facing this problem. And one more thing I want to add on that the Calcutta League or any league is going for 3 months or 4 months maximum. Calcutta League is going for 3 months. But after that, all players need to practice in local camp. Most of the players, because everyone loves to play football, and a lot of players playing football in Kolkata, in Bengal. So for playing Kolkata League, there are a lot of people coming from the village areas, coming from the rural areas, and different places. So and there are no like practicing camp in the off season. Like I can say that where I'm living, there are only one practicing camp in this area. So in the off season, player needs money also. Most of the players, most of my friends, most of my players going for to play the cap, and they get injured for that. So that's a big issue, and truly I can't blame them as well, because in our society, of course, we also need money, and players has to play the cap for that. They shouldn't, but they played that. And I think if we focus on the local camp practice, where players go from the trials and everywhere, like we practice, and no one is here to take us to any opportunities, like any trials. And here are a lot of players, so we can't go to any club and say that mujhe khelna hai, I want to give trial. Like if I say that, a lot of player will come, so that's not going to happen. So we need someone, we need like Hitesh does that, that everywhere, every camp has to send a few players to that camp, to that league, that CFL, to send it to CFL, to send it to Delhi League, any league. So for that, we get opportunities for that. And I think we should look for it. And that's my opinion only. I'm also learning. I have to learn a lot, and mostly the thing I have to practice, and we need a better ground for that as well.
Okay.
I totally agree with him. Before that, I totally agree with him, because he's a player right now. He knows. We keep on asking players to be like Anwar and being able to pass out from the back. When you have been playing in grounds all your life, and as a centre back, every time you try to pass out from a back as a 7, 8 year old, the ball goes to the other side. Why? Because you were trying to, the ground is so bad, you cannot have short passing game. You cannot, so the moment it's ingrained into your body that obviously you don't want to be the one causing the mistake. So the first thing the centre back does is clear, long. So it's become the Indian game. It's not the Indian game. We are not actually doing that. We are trying to protect ourselves. And it's become ingrained. So then if you ask us to go to the ISL and then say, okay, fine, all your life you've been playing clear the ball as a defender, but now you want to pass. That doesn't happen. You don't make decisions. This is all automatic. In that time, it's all automatic according to how you play. So suppose you're, for example, why is hockey grown up? Just in Odisha, they've got over 100 or 200 turfs which have been made. So even the smallest kids there are training on perfect grounds. We are being able to compete with Germany, thrashing them. We are thrashing Spain. We are thrashing Argentina, South Korea, Japan. So if we are able to do that in hockey and in football, we were world powers. I mean, even in football, until 1960s, 70s, we were able to compete with anyone. Like Nabab was saying, till 1970, I think we lost to France 2-1 or something like that. And even before that, we were winning. We were the gold, the bronze, almost the bronze medalist in '64 Olympics. In fact, people are looking at this 2-0 result. In the same Olympics at home, we beat Australia 7-1. That's the biggest defeat ever in history of football. So we've come from there to here. The same way we had come from being 9-time Olympic gold medalist in hockey to here. And now, after investing money in the infrastructure, in the sports diet, nutrition, look where hockey has reached. Why? Because just one government. If one government has a budget of 1,400 crores for sports, that's what it can do. You see, if even one state, like Nabab said, Bengal cannot produce so much. Yes, Bengal has done a lot. But imagine if a government like Odisha comes and their only thing is that I want to make Bengal a world superpower. That's what Odisha wanted to do. And they made Odisha a world superpower in hockey. Simple as that. Just by spending money on it. And now, affecting our country, we are in the top 5 in the world again. So why not in football?
You know, it's interesting. You're talking about that whole sports infrastructure in Odisha, right?
No, I'm talking about what they built for hockey over the last 20 years.
Oh,
So they've just
I
started
saw that.
doing it for, so they've just started doing it for football now. But for the last 15 years, they did it for hockey. They've made, they've had 3 World Cups there. So
No, I toured that. I saw, but most importantly, their sports science is pretty good, and they have some young, progressive. They have some very good. I spent a week there with because the Indian Arrows were there, and then I toured.
Yes.
But what they have is young sports scientists who are very progressive and think outside the box. And you know, from the football and the infrastructure there, it was okay, the fields, but there are academies, there are places in India that I think are doing that. I mean, I just think I hear you guys talk and I see the passion, and everybody here has a little bit of a different agenda as a player. So you talked about field quality, you talked about opportunities. Through all this stuff, the underlying conduit is money. And if you don't have a league that's generating profits, the investment has to come from India. Now, whether it's the national, whether it's regional, but there's not going to be a monetary return on investment right now in India on football. But there can be a global return. It's just like hockey and cricket. To be a top nation, you have to spend money to keep up. And from what I've seen in terms of cricket and hockey, and it was really interesting talking to people about hockey because India used to be the best in the world. And then these other countries started becoming better, and people had different answers. One of the answers I heard was once they started using artificial turf and it became a faster, more physical game in hockey, India didn't have the same advantage because they were the most skillful. But then when they started playing on these fast surfaces, these big, fast, maybe Europeans started to gain a bit of an advantage. With cricket, it appears to me that the rest of the world is catching up at times to India. And you by far have the most players and the most investment. But in football, it's kind of the opposite. I think there's a lot of incredible room to grow. And for me, just hearing everybody, it's like putting a group of people together. You know, Elvis, are you still on, Elvis? Like, I think
I'm listening. But you know, Jeremy, I just wanted to say something.
I was going to give a recommendation that you put together a tour, a European tour, a 2-week tour to academies and professional stuff. You have the contacts, and you should put that out there for people in Indian football who want to come and see firsthand what's going on in Europe. Because
I think most of these guys at some point or the other, all of them have been somewhere or the other. The answering to or addressing to something what you raised was, I think it's a chicken and egg story over here. When you talk about money, you talk about an intellectual property that somebody sees a worth. It's always the case. We went and got an education so we could get a job, right? I mean, that's the progression that we do in our life. So then we get an experience, then the guy goes say, hey, wait a minute, you have the education, but you don't have the experience to get this kind of a salary. So you are caught in between that conundrum. Then you say, okay, I have enough experience now, will you pay me? Then it comes to the color of your skin or the racism that would come into the play. Now let's put it this way, even though we are all Indians over here and you being a foreigner over here, I mean, the bottom line is India has a lot of problems. That's not my issue. That's not what the discussion for me is. My discussion is what system can you put in place at this time in India that can change? So you cannot go, okay, let's develop a youth football. No, let's see what we have. What we have is an ISL. a company that is one of the wealthiest companies in the world. It's called Reliance. They got the money to put in that. So how do we do it? Someone needs to make sure that somebody holds their feet to the fire to make them do that. Now you have an All India Football Federation, which is probably a puppet of them because they are not allowed to say anything.
Elvis, one second. So sorry, Elvis. I just want to tell you, we just want to expand on that. If this company had even this much of business sense, forget about football sense. I'm talking about business sense. They would have invested in youth football from day one because they had it for 10, 15 years a contract. If they had done it, they would have been richer. Why? Because the Indian league would have been richer. Why? Because the Indian football team would have been better. And we would have been in the last 16 or the last 8 even right now. If ISL had come in, FSDL Reliance from day one and said, our thing is we believe to India in the World Cup, they could have done it. They could have done it.
Exactly, Ranjit. I mean, that's exactly my point. My point is that Jeremy, for example, or many other, Jeremy, it's not only pointing out to you, but many, many foreigners. I remember my first coach, for example, was Bob Butland. He passed away. He went on to coach at the highest level in India. Way back then, he was a Dempos coach, and I played under him. And he said the same things. This is 45 years ago. Nothing has changed. So what I'm trying to say is that here I am, here this panel is here. What we can do is come up with an agenda. That agenda is that, what Ranjit said, if someone sees a vision that if you invest in the youth, in your education, you will probably get a job. All of us as parents are doing that in our kids, saying that, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to give my kid this opportunity. There are many parents sending their kids abroad. Today, many, many Indian kids are coming over here. They're coming to Portugal. They're coming to Spain, everywhere, all over Europe. And then they go back. And I said to the parent, why are you sending him abroad? And what is he going to go? Play in the ISL? Does he have an opportunity? Is he going to play in the I-League and going to earn how much? So might as well send him to USA to follow college. At least go get a college degree done with a scholarship and maybe follow USL or NPSL or USL2 or MLS Pro or MLS. That could be a path for him or her to make better money. So here we are sitting down, all of us discussing this. And I really feel that Indian football has reached to its point. Whatever we speak, whatever we put on the social media, the content that we have created, for example, is going to create a buzz. There are a lot of people going to talk about it, and then it's slowly going to die off, and then we'll have to have another. What have we accomplished at the end of the day? What I can say is that, yes, I said this to Ranjit, whatever help you need, the model, whatever is working. This is a brilliant model in Portugal. And by the way, guys, Portugal is just 10 million, and it's a poor country. I am sorry to say this. We do not have, Ranjit probably has better conditions in his academy than we do in our academy. And I mean it. For example, I would say to you, the United States have, in my complex where I grew up in Sandy, in Salt Lake City, there were 15 grass football grounds with a restroom, changing facility, everything available for public. Grass, green grass. I had never played on green grass when I was playing professional football, only at Fatorda Stadium or Nehru Stadium or even Salt Lake. And that too at Barasat, for example, it was like a cement with grass. I mean, guys, let's put it this way. The things what we are talking about and what this young man is facing, I was on East Bengal and Mohun Bagan football ground way back in 2007. The ground had potholes. Like a road had potholes. It had depressions. So fast forward to 2024. And here is an opportunity of a lifetime. Because all of us who have been there, we were not so knowledgeable. We were not so informed. We were not so experienced. All the years of experience, all the years of exposure, 16 years in the United States, 7 back, 23 years in India, another 7 in India, and now 12 years here in Portugal. And I look at it and I go, come on, this got to be there. There has to be a way for us. So whatever you can do, Ranjit, or whatever you guys, Nabab, whatever you guys can do, I am in. my help is there. In whatever capacity, if you were to tell me, let's bring in some financial advisors or bring in money, let's reach out. We are investing. We have been investing. My family has been investing in Vasco Sports Club for a long time. Not my family, but an immediate, but from my in-laws family. We build a facility. I spent 4.5 million to bring the first artificial football ground, build the sports center, build everything, did everything. The sports science equipment, imported every single piece of equipment from United States, did everything. And yet it fell on the deaf ears. So let's come up with a philosophy, guys, whatever it is. I'm here.
I guess I'll start with some giving some rather take the discussion towards some actionable points which can be done. And as Elvis pointed out, and Elvis has been very kind to help us out as well, I'll put out what needs to be done and what can be offered for the Indian football from our end, and basically then all of us together will get something out of it. So as Sarthak said, so in our season 1, even we had conducted our East Zonal finals. It was a 2-day trials. And why I'm telling this story, I'll come to something which is very pertinent, and both Nabab and Ranjit will agree with that. So there was a 2-day trials. On first day, we selected few players. We had conducted extensive trials in 4 different parts of West Bengal around Kolkata. And we were conducting our East Zonal trials in Harinavi Stadium. Gayeshpur Stadium. After first day, we had selected certain players, and we had called few of them on second day. Now it was a Friday and Saturday. On second day, half of the players did not turn up. And when we started calling them, why you haven't turned up? We are selecting you for national finals. And mind you, in our national finals, in our season 1, there were 6 ISL and I-League clubs were coming to scout players. That was what they were playing for, to get scouted for a national final. So 50% of the same players said, we have our cup today, so we don't want to get injured or don't want to tire ourselves. So that's when we understood that that was more important. Now, why was that the scenario? Was there is no structured career pathway for aspiring football players in India. And this is something which I have been saying since last 3 years, because I myself witnessed it, or rather have experienced it. When I said I wanted to become a player, the only question my parents asked was, tell me, how do you become a professional player in India? And we had neither my coach nor anybody had any answers. So there is if a structured career pathway gets created, then majority of the problems would get solved. In Mumbai, they recently started under YPL under 11 league. There were more than 110 teams playing. So there are parents which are allowing their kids to play football. The only problem is later on as they grow, they do not find, neither the coaches know how to make them a professional player, neither kids, they themselves do not know. And the administrators also obviously provide no viable pathways. They take that sport as a recreational activity rather than focusing on it as a profession. So if we have a structured career pathway, just solving one problem at pan-India level would solve multiple problems. Because now you would be having millions of players who want to become professional player playing that sport in a very serious manner. And so now coming to the query, this is something which we have been trying to solve in the last 3 years. Ranjit Paji over here had been very kind to send their scouts to each of our national finals consecutively last 3 years. We even enjoyed his facilities in our season 1 where we conducted our North Zonal finals. What we are trying to do over here is we go to places, we go to cities, we go to areas where after independence, not even a single scout has ever reached. We conducted our trials in Andaman Nicobar Islands. This year, we conducted our trials deep into the tribal areas of border of Jharkhand and Odisha. If that one problem we thought we can solve at pan-India level of creating a structured career pathway, we felt will make some difference. That was all. We were very novice when we started. We were told that aap aisi jagah ja rahe ho. When we were conducting trials in Gujarat and Rajasthan, we were said that jalebi fafda khane wale football khelte hain kya? Our idea was there has to be a pan-India platform so that every kid in each of the states, we are present in 20 states now, they know at least they have a chance of becoming a professional player. And later on at our age, when they are sitting in a podcast, they should know that they did not become a professional player because they weren't skillful. The reason should not be that they weren't given a viable chance to become a professional player. That is something that we are lacking, which generates a lot of hope.
Well, I like to come in there on this particular thing, Ethan. I totally agree with you. I was 18, 19, and I played under 19 football for India. And this was 97, 98, 99. And the moment this 99 thing happened, I saw that, okay, fine, now let me look for a club to play for myself. And then I said, there's nothing because JCT was not there. Okay, was there a club within 100 kilometers? No. 200? No. 500? No. 1000? No. 2000? No. There was no professional club in the entire of North India. That means Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Odisha. All these were dead. The only place I could have gone to was Bengal or to Goa or to Kerala. So for every 100 footballers like me, how many actually took the chance of getting out of that place?
Exactly.
There was only one or two. 98 either took up some other profession. MS Dhoni, cricketer from a goalkeeper. Okay, just giving examples. Took up some other professions. Some of them took up some other sports.
Right.
Because suppose a kid is good in sports at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15. Trust me, if he's the best in football in his class, I guarantee he's also the best in a couple of other sports in his class.
Right.
The moment football, for COVID, we've lost a generation because for 5 years, there has been no football which has happened. And all those years, the kid has not waited, okay, now the youth league will start. They have gone and joined the sport where they had a chance. Kids in India, 90% of them are not playing for the fun of playing sports. Kids in India play for getting out of poverty or getting out of where they are and living, actually having it as a career.
Yeah.
And then what do? For example, what you do is awesome and great. Why? Because otherwise, these clubs go to these places and charge 1,000 or 5,000 or 2,000 rupees or 500 rupees as trial fees. And they have no intention at all of selecting anyone. The only thing is they get 100 people, make the money, go to the next city. And that is why kids stop going for trials.
Right.
Now, there are 750 districts in India over that. So we need a trial in every district.
Exactly.
Because every district in India is like a country in Europe. That's how big our districts are.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing that, 20 states, kudos. You need to obviously get bigger and more. Because like I said, it's not 1.4 billion people. And the day we actually reach there, so I actually truly believe that the first Indian Messi, the first Indian Salah, whoever's going to make the first Champions League, he's already been born. He's just not been found yet.
Not being founded, yeah.
Then
exactly.
when they say to me that who's been you've had in all the age groups over 225 internationals, they ask me who's been your best player or best product. I say he's yet to come. Because this is cannot be our best. Our best has to be world standard. So he's yet to come. And what you guys are doing is great, man. This is how we need to do it.
What we have learned, Ranjit Paji, in the last 3 years was, once you go to any particular pace, you give them confidence that this is a platform which will select you transparently in an unbiased manner and will provide you opportunities at no cost. People start taking that sport very seriously. We always tell about this case study about Patna. First season, 60 kids. Second season, 150 kids. Third season, more than 350 kids. And mind you, there is no grassroots football which happens over there. So that's what. So all our validations through which we had started this initiative of creating a structured career pathway. If we create that, many things get resolved. Parents are ready to pump in money. Parents are ready to support their kid. You need to show them where will their kid end up with, where to enter, where will they end up. उसके बीच का अगर जितना टाइम तक ब्लैक होल होगा, we are losing on potential Messis and Ronaldos. So cutting my long this short, what we can offer to Indian football is already we are reaching out to all the clubs. Come to us, you need a player, take it from us free of cost. We as an ecosystem has to come together in order to create that confidence in a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid that there are people who are ready to support you and trying to give you opportunities in an unbiased manner. I have reached out to, in last 3 weeks, I have reached out to multiple clubs, almost ISL clubs, I-League clubs, and we are telling them, come to our national finals. You like any player, take them free of cost. This is something which we feel we can make a difference. And that's how we are trying to contribute in a positive manner.
Exactly. So one question has taken a lot of, ways, and so many solutions have come up. But I would like to, take it back to ISL. and basically talking about FSDL and the relationship of AIFF with them. So let's talk about what ISL has promised to us when it started. The first thing that it promised was that 2026 India will qualify for FIFA World Cup, which is impossible. Second thing was that when they launched this in 2014, they came up with the aim of attracting big investments into ISL. But the reason big investments are not coming because they were confused with the fact that who takes the final call. Is it AIFF or is it FSDL? The third thing that they promised was that they will help Indian players to reach global standards. And I believe they have, not successfully passed in all these three things. And I have an interesting question to talk about FC Punjab also, which got promoted to ISL. And Ranjit sir actually does not agree with if it is a promotion, but we'll come to that. Yeah, but we'll come to that. We'll not talk about it right now. So my question is, what has Hero ISL given back to Indian football in last 10 years? Okay. If we look at the quality of Asia Cup, all the players that played in Asia Cup were playing in ISL. So what did they take on from ISL? That is my question. And as Ranjit sir mentioned that they are getting paid so much that they do not work hard enough to get into the 5th division or to the 4th division of good leagues. So the concluding this, my question is, what has ISL given to Indian football in the last 10 years?
I would say, see, first of all, I would say that they know how to present the product. So we have a business expert here who will agree that first of all, you have to make sure that it's a viable financial product and for investors to invest in it. They did that, but they forgot the basics. That yes, it looks very good on TV. The cameras are as good as European cameras. The production value is great, but the actual product on display, means it's a Maruti on the Formula One field. Okay, but so you made a Formula One track, but it's a Maruti there. So no matter how fast you press the accelerator, the Maruti will not go anywhere. And you are trying to get to the Formula One, trying to become the future Michael Schumacher. Now, whereas from first year, if they had conducted, because they see when FSDL took over, they didn't say that, okay, we are taking over Indian football, ISL only. They said we are taking over Indian football. So they actually owned I-League. They actually owned 2nd division, 3rd division. They owned state leagues. They owned everything. So instead of having this, they had said, okay, fine, we'll make a pyramid structure. There will be promotion and relegation because why? Unless you have that, players will not fight hard enough, unless the first top 3 teams. And unless you have 20 teams in the first league and then 25 in the second and then 30 in the third, unless it's a pyramid shape, there'll never be progression because our pyramid looks like this. Ulta pyramid हमारा. हमारे सारे टॉप में 10 टीमें हैं, उसके बाद दूसरे में 12 है, फिर तीसरे में 13 नहीं है. So पहले में 15 है, उसके बाद 13 है, उसके बाद 12 है, उसके बाद है ही नहीं. There's nothing there. There is total abyss. So we need to correct that. Now, like you said, what has ISL got other than great commentary, which is also only made up of commentators who don't know anything they're talking about. I'm not talking about the Indians. I'm talking about the foreigners like Paul Macefield. He doesn't know anything about football and he's commenting on Indian players. So have they got great coaches? No, I wouldn't say that because from the players and the coaches who come to India are all the washed out players. So do we become better playing with washed out players and then we go and compete with the players on the top of their game who are playing in the Premier League in Korea and Japan? No. So did they promise promotion? Yes, they did. Did they give it? No, they didn't. Promotion means you getting up to the top for free. Punjab FC was my club. I sold it and I sold it because I knew there was going to be no promotion and relegation. So they said that we are promoting them. Now, they've said it's going to be a global investment project. So they were supposed to share the broadcast rights. How does the Premier League become great? Premier League is great because even the Championship gets the money from the Premier League broadcast rights. Championship is not being broadcast. They're not buying broadcast rights of the Championship. They're buying it of the Premier League. $20 billion. 2 goes to Championship. 1 is distributed amongst all the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even the 8th, 9th division club gets 20, 30,000 pounds. Why? Because the guys at the Premier League know, unless the 8th division is strong, the 7th is not strong, the 7th is not strong, 6th is not strong. If the championship is not strong, the English Premier League is not strong. India, our I-League is crap. That is why our top league is crap. So why is the I-League crap? Because second division is crap. Why is that crap? Because there's nothing below that. So where do we need to start with excellence? In our junior leagues, in our under 13 leagues. We need to make it a world-class product, world-class standard. Then we need to make the next one and the next one and the next one. We're going about it the wrong way. No matter how much money ISL pumps into Indian football, even if it's 1,000 crores a year, but only into ISL, it will not. If they pump in 100 crores on our youth development, in 10 years, the ISL will be in the top 20 leagues of the world.
Yeah. So actually, the fact that you mentioned that, when Punjab FC got promoted, according to the AIFF guidelines, they were not supposed to pay the franchisee fees.
Yes.
But they paid the franchisee fees because they wanted to become the part of the central pool revenue system.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So my question is, if AIFF is creating the guidelines that you do not have to pay when you get into the ISL, then why is Reliance or FSDL not doing this? Like, doesn't it sound like a gundagardi?
It is. It is. But AIFF just wish. They can't say, nah. See, this is what AIFF has done. It's sold its soul. It's sold itself. So they can only, like Kalyan Chaubey, our president, wished that the ISL clubs let their best players go for the Asian Cup or the Asian Cup in before that, not this Asian Cup, the Asian Games. They didn't listen to the president because they didn't have to. Why? Because they own the president. Why? Because the last president sold his soul. And the same way, they can just request. Last time, this was Praful Patel made the same kind of request, and their CEO, actually, Martin Baines, came out with a statement. Please remember, according to the contract, you need to be asking us. We don't need to ask you anything. So they are the slaves. And why? Now, how does that affect Indian football? So people think ISL is not responsible. The ISL knew that they have to start on 31st of January. They cannot wait for India to qualify. If India had qualified, this would have gone into their cricket career, cricket time. And because of that, this was a pre-planned thing that you don't let them play practice matches, you don't let them have any friendlies, you don't let them do anything. Then they will fail. Then you fire the coach. Who's the coach? The coach who's talking sense and he's talking against us. Why? Because he's talking about youth development. The coach said something fantastic that day. When was the last time India qualified in the under 50, under 16, under 19, under 23 in AFC? So if our kids don't qualify, how do you expect them to become adults and immediately get into the top 8? We've got it all wrong. And who's got it wrong? It's because we sold it. And see, I'm so passionate because I'm working so hard morning till night. Nabab is doing the same, morning till night. And we are hitting our heads on the wall. Why? Because the commercial company decides the Indian national team does not need a practice camp. Now imagine what the difference is if one, I'll give you an example. People think we wouldn't have had a chance. Suppose we had one boy who had gone and scored against Australia. Okay? Just could it have happened? Yes. Maybe he was a 19, 20-year-old boy. He would have got a call from a championship club in England. Maybe that was going to be our first boy. But if you don't take these competitions where you play top countries seriously, which they didn't, and the coach was trying to make clear very beginning that we are not taking it seriously also. From that, we should have happened that Reliance or FSDL or somebody should have said, what the hell are you doing? Close this bloody league of yours. The country comes first, always and every single time. People were talking to me and telling me that, we don't agree with you. The top professional leagues don't close. Yes. If you are India, and you're a cricket nation, you can have a different test team, 2020 team in India, 50-50 team. Because you're that good. Your grassroots is so good in cricket. But in football, you can't do that. You are not that good. But who's doing it? Saudi Arabia, who has Ronaldo in it, closed their league because they wanted to do well in Asian Cup. The only big competition India plays in football is the Asian Cup. So, and this was our top bodies' stance towards it, not because they couldn't, because they can't do anything. It's all in the hands of them. And who do they care about? Starting the ISL on 31st January. That's what they wanted and that's what they've got. Simple.
Right. So another thing that happened when, Mr. Praful Patel was the president was they had the dispute of vision for Indian football, like Reliance FSDL had a different vision and AIFF had a different vision. So they were having a dispute between that. But what happened after that? क्या मतलब did AIFF
नहीं
को
भाई,
घुटना टेकना
dispute
पड़ा?
तब होता है, देख भाई, dispute तब होता है अगर तुम you don't suppose we are equals. AIFF and FSDL Reliance are not equals. AIFF is FSDL Reliance servant. Our national federation is their servant. They take orders from FSDL, so there cannot be a dispute. Whatever they want happens. Now, what did they want, FSDL Reliance? They wanted India to be a global power in world football and our ranking to improve. Has that happened in the last 10, 12 years? No. Has it become worse? Yes. Have countries which are in war right now and have had no development become better than us? Yes. Iraq. Yes. Syria. Yes. With countries who are poorer than Afghanistan and countries who are poorer than us, like Nabab was saying, Mali, doing very well? Yes. Countries who have got no chance compared to us in economic power, are they doing well? Yes. Then we are doing something wrong. We're not doing something right, we're doing something wrong. Because we should have, if the 10 years of ISL is good enough for a good program to produce great players, is good enough. And when I say ISL, no, people stop looking at ISL. It's FSDL Reliance who were in charge of Indian football for 10 years. If FSDL Reliance was a president of AIFF, I would have fired him because he's got me horrible results till now. So what do we want FSDL Reliance to do? We want them to be our marketing and commercial partners. But that's where it ends. Everything else has to be decided by AIFF, the National Federation. Why? Because they will put the country first if they have the power. They can't put the league first. Now, the problem with FSDL Reliance is BCCI did the same thing. Nabab said this great thing. 2021 की बात की है, that is बहुत पुरानी हो गई है. अब तो 2023 हो गया दादा. They are earning 20,000 crores a year. Now, when they started IPL, they had 50 crores in their account. I'm talking about BCCI. Within 20 years, they are the richest board in the world. 15 years, the richest board in the world. Can India do that in football? Yes, why not? But we need to own it. So who became the richest board? Was it BCCI or was it Mr. Ambani? No, it was BCCI who became the richest board. So what has that done? It has put so much of money into our grassroots in cricket that India can be having a #1 world team in Test cricket and in 20 and in 50, and we can have actually जो हमारे rejects होते हैं ना, the ones who don't play, जैसे football में होता है, our rejects go and play in the national teams of other countries, like the rejects of Brazil and Europe, and go and are superstars here. You have to understand that we are again focusing on the wrong thing. That 83 World Cup was a fluke and it happened and hum kar gaye. If that thing never happens, India is never going to win the football World Cup by fluke, because there were 7-8 countries who played the football cricket World Cup. वो गलती से हो गया हमारा. ये गलती football में नहीं होएगी. This has to be planned, and the only way to plan it is either if we force FSDL Reliance to make sure it gets its act together, or we take it away from them. Why? Will Indian football be big in 20 years? I can bet my life it will be. Who will be earning the money then? FSDL Reliance. Will the clubs get any money? No, because the broadcaster is owned by FSDL Reliance. Any league in the whole world which is making money, the broadcaster is never owned by the owner, because then how the hell are you going to make money? 90% of the money comes from broadcast revenue, not only for ISL, but lower leagues. So this money will never trickle down to the grassroots, which it does in English Premier League, in the German League, in the Italian League, everywhere. So we have to get out of this slave mentality, make sure this contract is not done. We have to make sure that even if it's done, they're only commercial and marketing partners, because Indian football will get big. The billions of dollars will come one day, and I don't want it to be taken by Mr. Ambani. Simple as that.
Right.
It should be put back into Indian football, like cricket is doing now. They have to. They don't have a choice.
Right. So
Sagil,
yeah, just a second. So,
Yeah.
You talked about the broadcasting being owned by FSDL. Previously, I believe it was the 35% stake was owned by Disney Star, but they told that they don't want to continue with a loss-making league. This is the source that I have read on the news. But do you think this was the real thing that happened?
Yeah, the loss-making league is there for the broadcaster as well, because all the money which is coming in goes to Reliance. You have to understand, all the money from franchise fees goes to FSDL. They are making, so they from day one, they made sure that we are not going to lose any money, even if the clubs are shut down. So out of the original 11, 12 clubs who started in ISL, 5 have shut down. If it was such a great product, then 5 clubs wouldn't have shut down. If they were making money, they wouldn't have shut down. Who's not making losing money? FSDL Reliance. Because they minimum get, no matter what happens, club shuts down or not, they will get their 18 crores a year as franchise fees per club, per year.
Sagil, I mean, this is a repeat of our mistakes of when did we start the National Football League? When we stopped the institutional teams and close the doors for them. Hurt the Goa League. There were 5 top leagues. In Maharashtra, there was a fantastic league. Kolkata, there was a fantastic league. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and for example, Goa and also teams from Punjab. There were about 6 or 7 states that used to contribute to the Indian football. If you go back to the history, we have repeated it again and again and again. We are doing the same mistakes. We had these events that used to. Today, I was reading the thing, the Kalyan Trophy that used to take place, where I have played football. And there was Rovers Cup, or there was Duran Cup. What I'm trying to say is this. We know what has happened and how mistakes have been. And I can see the passion of Ranjit over here. How do we fix this problem? The problem is we keep on repeating. Unless until there is a forum that puts some kind of a strain on this relationship between AIFF and FSDL and Reliance and bring some kind of a resolution to it, you can voice all you want. You can create all the social media buzz. At the end of it, we are not in a position to create the voting pool to change that. And that is the key. How do we change? Because who elects these people? All the associations have a vote, every single one of them. And those are the ones we need to somehow reach out through this kind of a forum to say that things are wrong on not just on a level. These are wrong because it's going to hurt the future of Indian football and the youth of football. Why am I passionate about it? Everyone has got a stake. If India does well, we the Indians who are living abroad, who are benefiting from Indian, whether I come and do a professional program over there, whether we do a partnership where we can bring Indian players abroad, all that matters. And that's why we are speaking passionately about it. But that change cannot come. The change is that NFL, when National Football League was created, they hurt everyone below. They hurt all the local leagues. Now they have created ISL. They have hurt all the I-League teams. Imagine in Goa, there was Sporting, Dempo, Salgonkar. 3 teams were there. And Vasco. 4 teams were there in I-League in one shot. Finish.
Goa.
Franza. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that how do we change this? How can a forum like this bring this to the notice of the public? The public has to know that we are hurting. We have hurt our football system with this partnership that we have done. And this partnership needs to be terminated. This or readjusted. Like how Ranjit said, it needs to readjust so the revenue, trickle-down effect of the revenue goes to the lowest and the smallest of the clubs in India so everyone can benefit. I mean, I'm going to swear the same thing what he swear. Indian football by default will be among the top countries very soon. By default, not by a proper system. Why? Because more and more parents are investing in their kids in football. I am talking about an investment a parent makes, probably Nabab sir over here or Ranjit sir could probably manage 6 months of their payroll. That kind of an investment parents are doing in their kids. This is serious investment. So there are parents, there is money. We need a platform for us to structure it so this discussion, what we are talking about, reaches to the high level and we can bring about a change. Now, in terms of a change, implementation of a methodology or a system to support everything is plenty. Everyone knows that. We have educated young men. Hitesh is, I mean, there are too many young guys who are educated enough, who has a global perspective, who understands football, how to run football, how to create the ecosystem. That is plenty. And we, the older guys, can be the consultants to give them the insights of it, the insights, what is happening or what can be changed. But other than that, our discussion is in itself, it's ends to end means. It ends over here and it goes nowhere. So if you want a good point, yeah, we need, we do not have a goose that is laying golden eggs right now. We need to find that. And that this goose that is we have brought to the table needs to be slaughtered and made a tandoori out of it. And then we can move forward.
Right.
It is exactly like what IT industry was there in the 90s. There were people who were doing engineering. There were people who were skilled enough to do those jobs. Government did not come and created Infosys or everything. It's just that many are times what Elvis said, ki India will be number one. The only thing is they need to provide a structure jisse proper building ban sake. That's the only thing. Not too much of a governance is also not required. And it has in Indian mentality we have shown that in many in parlance specifically I always say about IT industry, nobody did anything for IT industry to bloom. They just did not interfere in it. That in itself was a good decision of governance. So that's how it's going to be.
So, like I also would like to add some like my point of view over here, because you guys like are giving the very best expertise. I'm hearing very good points. I would just like to say, like Elvis sir said about the president, that, like the president of AIFF, Kalyan Chaubey sir. So it's not any personal or a target question to anyone. I just want to know that while the elections of AIFF took place, there were two contenders. One was Baiching Bhutia and the other was Kalyan Chaubey, right? They elected Kalyan Chaubey over there. So, like, maybe they have their own reasons to vote him up and, to become the Kalyan Chaubey will become the president. But I just want to know that the Baiching Bhutia was somewhere the grassroots football player who played for India. He was from Northeast and he faced many issues while, coming to that level, and he played on to the topmost level of Indian football. So, like, as per my point of view, he was like somewhere the more deserving president who could have think more about the grassroots infrastructure about the Indian football. And like somewhere that's my point of view. Maybe some will agree and some will not. But yeah, like what I think is that it's somewhere, yes, the head of the organization is somewhere also responsible for if I say the declining graph of the Indian football or whatever I'll say. But yes, it is just my point of view. So yeah.
No,
If you just a second. Yeah.
Let Nabab
If
sir
you
speak.
bring if you bring the president of India as the president of AIFF, can't do anything. Take my words, can't do anything. What Ranjit has said, it is FSDL who monitors AIFF, who runs AIFF. If they take a call, if they take this discussion seriously, something can be done. Otherwise, it's just waste of time. Forget about Baichung or forget about this Kalyan Chaubey. These things won't do much difference. I believe what has happened that if AIFF, if Reliance, either Reliance stop this league, leaves Indian football. Okay, we will be in zero, and then from zero, Indian football has to restart. Or Reliance puts their effort for next 10 years, not in ISL, puts more money in youth development. Because Reliance has money, Reliance has passion, they are running Indian Football League. So, but we're playing with 6 foreigners, 5 foreigners, and there is no striker, no Indian striker playing in the Indian Super League. And you have to make the national team out of Indian Super League only. That is not written. But no players from lower leagues has been called. No players from army team has been called in the national camp. No players have been. Stivak even does not have any idea that there is a Santosh team for railways. There is a services team. I believe he does not have this idea. He's a good coach. He speaks right thing. and a lot of foreign coaches will come and speak the right thing. We are speaking the right things for last 1.5 hours, but we will keep speaking. Nothing is going to happen. In next 100 years, 200 years, if it goes like this, nothing is going to happen. Only FIFA allows all countries to play World Cup, we will play World Cup, or we host World Cup, we will play World Cup.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something, Hans. The only point I wanted to, in the constitution, if you read the All India Football Constitution, it's available online. There is a neutrality. The neutrality basically says that any individual with it won't function under political, religious, sex, civil, ethnic, linguistic, regional, racial discrimination. We will not do that. But we have done that over and over again. Every time. And which one do we break? The political one. We always have an affiliation with the political governance in AIFF. Unfortunately, that's common in most of the associations and federations in India. Now that is unfortunate, but it is true. Unlike, for example, in Portugal or in Germany or in Spain or even in the United States and so forth. Here, there are 2 points I want to make. Number one is that constitution needs an amendment, for example. It's about time. It's an old document. At some point, you need to amend those kind of constitutions and bring it up to par to the 21st century, in other words. You need to bring about, to say that you cannot have this affiliation. If you're affiliated, if you're not going to put 100% time in it, you got to change it. Number two is, you need to stop with this general secretary and president. You need to bring, like how Americans have done, a leadership which is a business model, a CEO, CFO, COO, and so forth, and bring it in that money structure. In other words, that organizational structure to Indian football. Now, this cannot be done overnight, and I think it's your generation that needs to voice your opinion, make that opinion count if it is going to mean anything in the future. One more point is, Jeremy is back online over here, and this is something Hitesh, and because now this pathway that you're talking about is, and if Jeremy can support you in this, to create that link to United States, for example, and I can create that link for you in Europe, for those players, for example, to have a direction, because education is important. And I am here today sitting in front of you among all the Goans that we played against, some of the topmost players like Bruno Coutinho, Mauricio Alfonso. They played Arjuni Award winners, and they played for India and scored many goals and supported everything. And they're dear friends of mine. And I always say to them, I am here in this position because I skipped football and I went into education. I left football and I went into do my college degree. Why? Because I realized my mom was the instrumental in that, to say to me, listen, Elvis, you've got to get out from this, because you need to, future after football is education. And that's why I'm here. And that path is something we need to sell to the youth also in India. That football in itself has a limit. Say 35. If you're Ronaldo, you play till 40. But only a few guys play, Ryan Giggs and so forth. So you're going to be playing till 35. Now 35 till say 75, if you happen to live, and that's usually our span of life, what are you going to do? You got to have a career path post that, unless you're going to make enough money playing football. And in the Indian context, you're not going to make enough money playing football. Even if you're earning, say, 40 lakhs a year, you're not going to have enough savings unless until you're an entrepreneur and really invest and so forth. So all that put together, I think this points that ISL, Reliance, AIFF, we have sold to the highest bidder. And unfortunately, we need to somehow stop that.
So, like, the next question that I'm putting up is from a perspective that, let's say we are making a 5-minute video. After this, we are making a 5 to 10 minutes video and sending this to the heads of Indian football who are actually controlling Indian football. So if a little bit of, advice, or you can say a small message from everyone about what they want to say to the heads of Indian football about what they're doing and what they need to change.
I mean, it's a big task summing everything up, but to me, the talent is there in India. There's players that can play anywhere in the world. Passion is as good as anywhere. There's challenges, but I think they're exciting challenges. And once people collaborate and put their efforts together, I think India can be a player on a international scale. You have to be bold. You have to be proud. You have to be willing to ask questions, and you need exposure. You need to travel and spend time and be confident, and you have to bring in people to India that genuinely care about India, that they're not just coming there to make money. And then for India, you have to, you got to create your own identity. You know, you can take little bits and pieces from all these other countries, but you're not Spain, you're not England, you're not going to be Holland or France or Germany. You're going to be India, and it's one of the most successful cultures in history. I mean, it's amazing, and the pride is amazing. So have belief in yourself and learn and get educated and collaborate. And I think you don't have to wait 30, 50 years. I think you can be really good pretty quick, but you can't be afraid to fail. You have to go out there, you have to start playing top competition, you need to invest, and you need to bring in outsiders that really care and love India. It can't be people that are trying to make India something that they're not. So feel free, like I said, for anybody to reach out to me. Thanks so much for including me in this conversation, and I'm here to serve you in any way possible. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Nabab sir, if you could tell us.
Point-wise, no grant, no vote for leagues for states without leagues. No grant for them, no vote for them. Those states who does not have a league. No official from them in the chairs for the states who does not have a league. Because if you don't have a league, if you don't have a club, if you don't know anything, there is no need that you come from some state which don't have a league and you run the Indian football. There is no means of it. Youth leagues for at least 7 to 8 months. Youth leagues for at least 7 to 8 months on zonal basis. Target under 17 World Cup. No Asian Cup, no Senior World Cup, nothing. Just target under 17 World Cup in next 5 years. Only 2 foreign players at top league, and then all leagues without foreign players immediately. National team with players from all leagues, all entities. Where you get a good player, bring him in the national camp. Don't just wait for the only, because I see many players who are playing in ISL or have been signed in ISL due to the credits of their agents or whatever it is. Those are not even eligible to play I leagues. I have seen many players who were last year in ISL. This year they are struggling in I league. So I know that these are the credential of agents. This is nothing with performance or anything. So another thing is Santosh Trophy in a decent manner, because Santosh Trophy, under 17, under 19 BC Rai Trophy, under 16 Mini Iqbal Hussain Trophy, under 21 M. Dotto Rai Trophy. All these trophies should start, and because there are states who does not have a ISL team, does not have a I League team. Even tomorrow, if Mohammedan goes to ISL and no teams from Bengal qualifies for I League, so next year, there is no team from Bengal in I League. There are teams, there are states which don't have a club or team in ISL, I Leagues. But if you have a under 16, under 19, under 21, and I League and Santosh Trophy in a decent manner, those state teams, state players can be seen everywhere. And another thing, there is a biggest, which actually Hitesh was also saying, that what the player will do, where he will learn. It is only 20%, not even 20%, only 5, 6%, 7% Indian players are earning a lot, huge. But what is the situation of the others? What is the situation of the rest of the players? Is everything on the top? Nothing is in below. So I believe AIFF should talk to Indian government to regularize the 2% sports quota which the government has. So a player knows if I go to play, okay, I don't get eyes. Okay, I can't play ID. Okay, but I can get a job in income tax. I can get a job in central excise. It is for the it will not only develop football, it will develop all sports in India. Because in a country of 140 billion, kids are looking for jobs, youths are looking for jobs. So if I take sports as my career, I can get a job. My parents won't say, no, you don't go. They will allow me. And next one is AIFF should start a corporate league. Corporate league means corporate teams like Air India, you say, or other big corporates also. They should bring them, start a corporate league because ISL is run by FSDL. If you start a corporate league, they will hire players, they will take players, they will appoint players. So more and more appointment will, more and more service will be generated, opportunities will be generated to start a corporate league on the top of the country with maximum teams, if possible. That should be done by AIFF only. And finally, if they can talk to the education department, the ministry, to include sports, outdoor sports as a syllabus and make sure that all schools play football, starting from schools, and importance to school football, importance to university football. I don't think many people here does know that. But probably Ranjit knows that. In university football, when you go for a championship, you play one match in the morning, 90 minutes. You play another match, 90 minutes in the afternoon. Then next day you play one match in the morning. Next day afternoon you play another match, 90 minutes in the afternoon. So 4 quarter-final matches are done by 2 days. So this is how university football is being played all over the country, and it is being done for last 10 years. No one is looking at it. Whereas in other countries, the best players come from the universities. So AIFF needs to look in these parts, and the opportunity of job is very important to youths. If you can generate jobs from here, either to professional club or to police, army, PNT, Indian excise, sports quota jobs, more and more more youths will come to sports, and that will surely develop the entire system.
Okay. Hitesh, sir, if you would like to take next.
Yeah, I'll do that. So, see, what I want to say is there are players playing football in same number of players playing football in every part of the country. I've never seen any part of the country where we don't have hundreds of thousands of players playing. The thing is, and parents, particularly in the metros, are spending huge amount of money on their kids because I am a parent now. I don't want my daughter to feel that she cannot become a player. So I would do everything in my capacity to for her to become a player, to provide the right environment. And similarly, many other parents have started. When I was a kid, there was only one coach in 4 to 5 kilometer radius in Mumbai, and he was a chakkiwala. He used to teach us only over the weekends. Now, if I throw a stone, it will probably hit a football coach near my place. So that is the number. So organically, many things are happening. I understand there are many mistakes we are repeating, but organically, many good things are also happening, which usually happens in any industry. The only thing is there has to be a shift in the mindset. Instead of the top-down approach that they that they took over for the ISL and for the Indian football, there has to be a bottom-up approach. Because if you want to tap into the good things, the organically जो अच्छी चीजें हो रही है, if you have to tap in, you have to start from the bottom now. Otherwise, those opportunities will also get lost. So you focus on the players who are playing, give them a confidence that there is a career for you in football if you do 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Once the players get that confidence, a hope will get arised in the millions that they become a professional football player and this sport is for them as well. Automatically, parents will follow suit and the whole ecosystem will start growing in every state and district wherever that confidence and that hope can be put out. So this is what I have to say at macro level. Everything else is just actionable points which can you will automatically start taking right actions if you put in a right mindset for the development. That's all.
Yeah, Elvis sir, if you could give us the last beautiful thoughts.
All right, so let's round it up. There is a beautiful business model which says believe, behave, become. If you really believe in it, and if you do the things that you have to do, you will become what you want to do. However, there are systems and checks and balances that is required. My message to anyone in India or the federation, the associations, even in Goa, for example, I can see that they are not doing what is required to be done. They go abroad, they have seen, everyone has seen what is out there. So here is my number one. Start a separate unit. For example, like United States has two associations, AYSO and USYA, which is the Youth Football Organization. They're independent, but they're affiliated with the USSF. For example, AIFF needs to have that, a separate entity of Youth Football Organization. Number two, take that Youth Football Organization to all the associations with the proper funding based on performance. That means if Goa has X number of teams and X number of participation in the Youth Football League, then this is the funding you get. It's the same model that is done here in Portugal at the club level. So if you have a youth club that is performing well, you get a subsidy from the local municipality. Number three, allocate the funding through SAI, for example, because Sports Authority of India allocates a lot of sports money, allocate it through that engine. Then put the micro level ideas, a curriculum. Indians are known for education. We have fantastic IT curriculum. We have fantastic engineering curriculum. We have doctors curriculum. We are creating lakhs and lakhs of this kind of individuals. If you put an educational curriculum that is working, whether it is Portuguese or Spanish or Dutch or whatnot, put one curriculum in that system. So that is distributed throughout the country. So everyone has the same philosophy, the same game model. Let them fine tune it. But the philosophy remains the same throughout the country. Number five, create the league, the youth league in two levels, a district level league and the national level league. So you have a good upward movement. So those guys who wants to play, have fun, let them play in the recreational league. Those who wants to play in the competitive league, let them play in the competitive league. Number six, have the scouting department with a centralized registration system. That means all players in youth all over India registered through a center. So you have that data. So this young man, Sankar, for example, if he's in the system, how many years he's played, what is his performance, how many minutes he's played, who he's played, goals he's scored, all that data is available for the scouts. Now comes the final kick. If I sell this player to another club, that club needs to get the compensation fee for developing that young talent. That's number 7. And finally, this youth development that you have created should not stop at U18. It should have basically U21 and U23 and feeder into ISL1, ISL2, and so forth, right? So that's an overall system for anyone. Now, I can say this, 35 years ago, I couldn't have said that if I had not lived abroad and seen the workings of different companies and organizations. So my message is this. I am here, whatever help you need, whatever systems, if you say I need a curriculum to implement, let's find a platform where we can come up with an agenda And like Jeremy said, there are people outside Reliance who are investing a lot of money. We need just one of those guys to support this initiative to create a separate youth football organization, perhaps. In United States right now, MLS, USL, NPSL, APSL, PDL, Next Level Pro, there are leagues they can start simultaneously. In India, constitution doesn't allow you to start something that is affiliated to FIFA. However, you can start an independent league, like the leagues that are happening in Kerala, the Seven-a-side, and so forth. So if you do that, you will have a large pool of players with top quality that sees a value by playing football and earning a living. Now, that's my message to you guys.